Okay, welcome everyone. Economics and Diseconomies of scale. In this lesson under operation management, first lesson you can see internal and external economics of scale and diseconomies of scale and the limitations of growth. These are the main subtopics we are discussed under there. We discussed already this two case studies against the Gilly Snack Track and the Grant Finch Food small business and large business, and we find out how large business will get the economies of scale, especially purchasing items directly from suppliers. You can get large economies of scale, cost advantages, and we after we talk about the economies of scale definition. You can see this U curve, flat U curve. Normally economies of scale section means the falling average cost, that economies of scale, and when the rising average cost, that's the diseconomies of scale. So here in our lessons we are going to find out what are the reasons for this economies of scale and the reasons for economies of scale. Under economies of scale reasons, we talk about internally mainly purchasing economies, which comes from the bulk purchase discount, marketing economies, which comes from the above the line promotion, technical economies of scale, which comes from the having equipment, machine technology, high tech businesses, we can get the benefit of efficiency. Financial economies come from availability of different source of finance and a cheaper rate. And risk-bearer economies of scale means coming from the economies of scale coming from the diversification benefit of different production lines they produce. As a result, economies of scale will come. And also managerial economies of scale. Yeah, the organizations like having specialized managers and then specialist people. Economies of scale will come from managerial economies. So these are the internal economies of scale. We discussed with the examples. And then we're talking today the activity number 1, DIB, or do it better. Right. Divan, can you read the activity number 1, please?
Yes, sir. Case study DIB, do it better. DIB is a large US hardware store with 212 branches right across the whole of the USA. Many of its product lines are manufactured by its own factories. One of the reasons for its success has been ability to keep costs down in manufacturing. DIB is very large and generated sales revenue of US dollars 24.5 billion in 2017. As a result of its size, it is able to exploit economies of scale.
Okay, continue.
Yes, sir. On the technical side, DIB benefits from specialization. It employs specialized workers in all of its factories to produce different products and components. This division of labor allows average costs to be reduced since specialists are more efficient. DIB also invests heavily in research and development. This allows the business to develop cost-effective products and money-saving production techniques. DIB also exploits risk-bearing economics. Although the business first began trading in painting and decorating materials in the 1970s, DIB is now involved in a much wider range of markets. These include fitted kitchens, garden furniture, other garden products, timber tools, light, machinery, and building supplies. It also operates restaurants and food markets with many stores serving food throughout the day. It also provides childcare with some stores offering properly supervised play areas. This growth in the business means that DIB can benefit from boom periods in different markets. It also copes with seasonal changes and difficult trading conditions in one market by relying on sales in others.
Right. So this is asking one question. Thank you. Discuss on how DIB is exploiting A, technical economies of scale, and B, risk-bearing economies of scale. This is a hardware store. You can see a large hardware store. This is the picture they are given. The garden departments inside the DIB store. It's like hardware. They're inside that hardware. There's a garden department also there. Whether people like want to do some finding some kind of garden equipment and garden, small, like even the small. Like a garden, everything, not only the equipment, everything. Even you can see the this kind of like a small, flowers and everything. Even that's also they can sell. So inside that is a big area. You can see that. That's why they normally like a hardware stores mean normally you can see from the picture. Yeah, normally you can't imagine this kind of a like a big like a hardware supermarket kind of a thing, because in like that's but developed countries they have this kind of big huge departmental stores. Hardware departmental stores, everything. For example, electric unit, there are a department of electric. There are certain all the electrical items and appliances available, right? In the you can see their productions are located like that. This is called risk-bearer economies of scale. Garden furniture, kitchen, right? Garden products, timber tools, light machinery, building supply, everything. So each and everything, they have certain departments. It's called diversification. They're asking the two economies of scale, how the benefits and everything, how they exploit this thing, right? Let's go to the marking scheme. So yeah, do it better. This case study you can find out. Yes, this one. Yeah, so I invite this one. Samara, can you read the answer, please? Oh, Davitra, can you read the answer here? Discuss how DIB exploring technical and risk-bearer economics. Question number 1. Okay. All right. So mainly, yeah. So question number 1, discuss how DIB exploiting technical and risk-bearer economics of scale. Normally we talk about technical side, mean the benefits coming from the advantage coming from the IT sector, mainly machines and everything, using like more equipment and technology. Whereas the risk-bearer economies of scale mean the diversification benefits. The organization have the risk-bearer economies of scale, more diversification benefits are there. Like they are not selling only the building equipment, they are selling garden equipment, electrical items, and so on. So one of the reasons for DIB's success has been the ability to keep costs down in manufacturing. So DIB is very large and able to exploit economies of scale. For example, it is able to exploit technical economies. Then they are giving example. Technical economies usually occur because larger plants are more efficient, right, than smaller ones, and there can be more specialization and more investment in machinery, right? More investment in machinery, right? In this case, can see the DIB benefit from specialization. It employs specialist workers in different parts of the world to produce different products and components. This division of labor allow average cost to be reduced since specialists are more efficient. So DIB also invests heavily in the research and development, and this allows the business to develop cost-effective products and money-saving production techniques. Okay, so this is how they answer this question. And also, diversification benefit, you can see the risk-bearing economies of scale. DIB also exploit the risk-bearing economies of scale. Although the business first began trading in painting and decorating material, now what happened, DIB now involved in other markets such as kitchens, garden furniture, timber, tool, light, machinery, and building supply, right? Use the case study context material in a physical application, right? It also operates the restaurants and food markets also, with many stores serving food throughout the day. It also provides childcare with some stores offering safe and supervised play area. And this growth in the business means that the DIB can benefit from boom period, like booming economic growth times, and in different market. It can also cope with the difficult trading conditions in one market by relying on sales of others. So this is how organizations are normally, like DIB operating. They have a two economies of scale. They operate in technical and risk-bearing economies of scale, right? So moving forward, they are talking now external economies of scale. External economies of scale mean the cost benefits which is coming from the from industry. External definition is there. Cost benefit that all firms in the industry can enjoy when the industry expands. When the industry expands, this is called the external economies of scale, right? Okay, the external economies of scale coming from outside the industry. Under that, number 1, we are talking in the skill labor. Skill labor mean like in the industry, if you can find easily the required amount of labor, the quality labor at correct time. Sometimes people you can find from like a vocational qualifications are there. Sometimes, experience is there. And in the industries, always abundant with the right industry like a laborers, for example, garment factory, people who are there with a lot of experience on the garment factories. Then I think it's a kind of a blessing for the business, because from the industry you can find the suitable labor, sometimes cheap labor from that. That's why a lot of countries that like to go to China, Vietnam, because they call the China is a factory of Asia, because large number of population. In Vietnam, the second one, and they call it that's the darling of Asia, the Vietnam, because of the having skilled labor and cheaper also. And second one, infrastructure. there's a lot of organizations, they are concentrated to the areas where they have a lot of infrastructure. Infrastructure means the availability of the commercial, the mainly the industrial, the development, the services are there. For example, electricity is there, water, telephone, telecommunication, the Wi-Fi facilities. It can be the road, it can be the there are soft infrastructure as well as hard infrastructure. So hard infrastructure means mainly the port, airports, and the road highways, and electricity power generation, everything. So if the government provide all these facilities, transport and logistic, right? If you have provided this facility, that's called infrastructure. So if you are located to a place where there are ample of infrastructure, that's a lot of people say like to actually locate there, especially residential places. So some people would like to go to the Colombo, an urban area in Sri Lanka, and also you can see in China, and they like to go to Shanghai, Beijing, right, near the city, the main city, because now the industries are developed, the infrastructure is developed, right? The developed countries, the main thing, the difference between developed countries and developing countries, the infrastructure wise difference, right? And also the quality of life. So that's why if you have if you can have easily, you can go anywhere, right, with the transport services, right? It's a road systems are really good. You can go, the road conditions are really good, they maintain very well. So that's called we have a country have a good right, quality of life, everything, transport, education, banking, and all the sectors must have this advantage, the quality must be there. Second one, there is infrastructure. Third one is ancillary and commercial services. Sometimes it's called business support services. You can find out mainly business support services are like a banking, insurance, communication, transportation, warehousing, these things, marketing, advertising services. If you are available in this area, automatically business organization can definitely get the benefit of that. If you operate in a rural area, or sometimes like very like far away from the city, these facilities are unable to find out. There is no insurance people, advertising people, and all that. Other supporting businesses are very difficult to find in far away. So that's why all these businesses are located in the heart of the city, because easily they can come, a lot of people, they can get their service. But that's the thing, ancillary supporting services, especially like the specialist marketing, cleaning, banking, waste disposal, maintenance, component suppliers, and so on. Availability is really important to nearby, then you can easily get your services. And finally, the cooperation. Cooperation exists when you can save, you can share and your resources with each other. For example, if you can share your car park with another business, common car park area, or common security services, or common research and development facility, like you can see developed areas like Silicon Valley, California, sometimes they sharing the cost and benefit of a research and development centers, right? This is there. So they are scientific, that innovation, everything. Sometimes they actually, the patents and everything, they're sharing. Cooperation is really important. Therefore, that's also beneficial for the organizations. Like if you have a good corporate, like a societies, they are living you, all the business like they're living like a family. Harmony is there in the area, so you can use their warehouse sometimes, extra parking slots you can use. Then these advantages, they are there for organization from economy externally, right? These are the main things: skill labor, infrastructure, ancillary services, and cooperation. However, we are talking about the other side, the diseconomies of scale section. The diseconomies of scale where organization will have disadvantage. We call this diseconomies of scale, right? That means expanded beyond a certain point of average cost. Then what happens if you overexpand, eventually the business cost will rise. This is called the diseconomies of scale, because firm will suffer from diseconomies of scale. The average cost start increasing. So here our syllabus, we have three main reasons we have given out as a main reason for diseconomies of scale. Bureaucracy. Sometimes in economic we talking like a corporate red tape, right? So much of bureaucracy, documents to fill, forms to sign, so many like a higher hierarchy level you have to follow, right? So that's called the bureaucratic. So much of paperwork when you go to, for example, this is where you can find so much of bureaucracy in the public sector, especially than private sector. Public sector like ministries and everything, if you want to get some work done, you have to wait so much of time, because there are so many hierarchy to follow. You have to get the approval from the ministers, get the approval from the secretary, get the approval from the different committees. And not for single project, you have to get the multiple approval from different ministries. It will take some time. Therefore, the bureaucracy is a kind of a thing that organization will always increase the cost and everything. Highly bureaucratic countries are there. Administration cost is too much. Paper fillings spent on filling forms and writing reports like that, right? So like that, so bureaucracy means easily you can define, for example, having the corporate red tape, a system of administration that use a large number of departments and officials. If you are using large number of departments and officials, then what happens? It will time consuming, and then people will demotivate. For example, in Sri Lanka, once we have when the investor come with the foreign direct investment, they have to fill like a booklet, they have to fill about a full 300 pages or something, like a full agreements and everything. So much of paperwork to fill, right? So then what happened? A lot of investors, they actually reluctant to come because of that much of documentation. They got scared sometimes what they asking, right? But when comes there's a time there's a system change happened because of that new BOI chairman came at that time. He changed the system. He actually reduced the papers to 300 to 1 page, and then he asked, okay, investors has to pay for this one $1,000 you have to pay for that form. There's no form filling, only just a one A4 sheet only. They're asking, okay, how much you are going to invest, what is the business and the purpose, and then see. So if only approval or disapprove, right? That nearly is a very system. They actually little bit reduce the burden for the investor. So better to pay $1,000. On the other hand, if the reject or accepted, that doesn't matter. $1,000 comes to the government, only just a 1 page to fill. Anyone can apply for the BOI approval. So no need to fill like such a big document. So that's the thing. Bureaucracy means always is become a burden for the business organization and individuals also, taking too much of time for the project to start. Other one is labor relations. Sometimes large organizations, sometimes labor relations are very poor. Sometimes each other, we have sometimes department to department, they don't know each other. That much of large organization, they can't share the information with each other. The situation we call the silo mentality. Silo mentality, like a labor relations are really poor. Department to department, they are reluctant to share the information. So as a result, business demotivate their workforce, and as well as there are so many misunderstandings will be happen. So therefore, communication is really important. Small business, they doesn't have this problem, but large organizations is always there, the silo mentality, and labor relations. With the organization becomes big, and relations between the workers and managers may deteriorate, and management may fail to understand the workers, and they may become demotivated, and as a result, conflict may occur. And finally, another disadvantage or reason for the diseconomies of scale is control and coordination. So large organizations, sometimes controlling becomes difficult, right? Coordination becomes difficult. Thousands of employees, billions of pounds, dozens of plants all over the world can make a running large organization demanding. There may be need for the more supervision, which raise the cost like that. Not like private sector, public sector, we can see these things like bureaucracy, labor relation, control and coordination, sometimes corruption, political power. That also we can take, but mainly this is the main three reasons for the diseconomies of scale happen. Automatically business will not happen, they will fail. That's what happened. Reason for business failure: bureaucracy, labor relations will be poor, control and coordination will be difficult. Okay, let's go to activity number 2, the case study Volkswagen, right? Samar, can you read the case study, please? Okay, Divan, can you read it, please?
Yes, Volkswagen. In 2014, Volkswagen, the very large German car manufacturer, was caught falsifying emissions data on its diesel cars. VW had been fitting some special software in its diesel vehicles called a defeat device. This fine-tunes the engine's performance so that nitrogen oxide emissions are limited when being tested. However, when the cars return to the road, the emission levels rises again. This meant that cars would pass the strict emissions test. It appears that around 11 million cars were fitted with this device, and since its discovery, VW has suffered badly. For example, the value of the company fell around euros 30,000 million following a flood of bad publicity across the world. A number of theories have been suggested to explain why this scandal was allowed to happen. Some analysts have suggested that the company is now too big and suffering from diseconomical scale. Giant companies like VW, which employs over 500,000 employees, become huge bureaucracies rather than commercial organizations. Controlling and monitoring such vast operations with factories, offices, warehouses, and other operational facilities all over the world becomes a very serious challenge for the manager. Although economies of scale are crucial in the mass production of motor cars, some people think that a number of companies are beginning to experience this economies of scale, particularly when managing information in the organization. It
Yes.
has been claimed that the CEO of VW did not know about this activity. In such a large organization, this might be true. It is unlikely that any CEO, however, capable, committed, and well organized could be in complete control of such a huge quantity of resources that are widely dispersed all over the world. To conclude, as businesses grow, at some point, the disadvantages of being big eventually become greater than the benefits. These disadvantages include loss of control, communication problems, the need for more supervision and extra layers of management, the increasing tendency for delegation, geographical spread of resources, the near impossibility of establishing a common business culture, employing a fully integrated IT system. This may have been cause of BW's current.
Okay, thank you very much. So normally you can see that's the main reason that the VW Volkswagen company, the reason for the failure, they have given normally the cause for the VW current problems are there, and these disadvantages also they are given list of disadvantages, and also they claim that CEOs claim over there they don't know about these activities and such large organization. So that's why. So it's actually about the control and coordination, right? Problems with the control and coordination, and they feel complete control such huge quantity of resources widely spread all over the world, right? So asking two questions from this case study, what it meant by diseconomies of scale, and second question, assess whether VW has experienced a diseconomies of scale in its organization, right? Assess whether VW has experienced diseconomies of scale in the organization. This kind of question usually, like first question is a defined question, you can see define what is meant by, right? Definition of the economies of scale. Second question, assess question, you can see we can convert it to analyze question like a 6-marker. Analyze whether VW experience a diseconomies of scale. Then you have to give 2 examples on the case study and then develop those points to support your view, right? So we'll go to the marking scheme. You can see the answer. What is meant by diseconomies of scale, right? Question number 1, they're asking if a business keeps on going, this is likely to reach a point where the average cost start to rise. This is because the firm suffers from diseconomies of scale. In figure 40.1, this is how you can use a numerical value, even you can reference to the figures also. Average cost start to rise after output has reached 70,000 units of output. Average cost start to rise because aspects of the production become inefficient. For example, business become bureaucratic and more difficult to control, to coordinate. So this raises the cost. This is the main 2 reasons they have given: the bureaucracy and the difficulty of controlling, right? Yeah, correct. Definition also the correct, the deviance definition they given. Then the business become too large, the size of average cost starts to increase. Correct. The average cost start increasing because this economies of scale. But like this, no need to write the application for the defined question, but always the definition should be perfect definition. Definition we can use in normally defined questions, and also you can use in 12-mark questions. You can use a definition. 9-mark question only the definition. So like those 2 situations you can use the definitions, right? Okay, second question, they're asking assess the whether VW has experienced the diseconomies of scale in the organization, right? Okay, this question I asked from the Kiara. Kiara, can you read the question? Answer please, question number 2.
There is some evidence in this case to suggest that VW might be experiencing diseconomies of scale. In 2015, VW was caught falsifying emissions data on its diesel cars. VW had fitted some special software, a defeat device, in about 11 million diesel vehicles that cars would pass the strict emissions test. As a result, the value of VW fell by around 30,000 million following a flood of bad publicity across the world. Some analysts have suggested that the company is now too big and suffering from diseconomies of scale. This is because big companies like VW, which employs over 500,000 employees, become huge bureaucracies rather than commercial organizations. Controlling and monitoring such vast operations with factories, offices, warehouses, and other operational facilities all over the world becomes a very serious challenge for managers. In this case, it is possible that VW has grown too big to manage. It was claimed that the CEO of VW did not know about this activity. In such a large organization, this might be true. It is unlikely that any CEO, however capable, committed, and quantity of resources that are located all over the world. As businesses grow at some point, the costs of being big, such as the loss of control, communications problems, the need for more supervision, and extra layers of management, the increasing tendency for delegation, the geographical spread of resources, the near impossibility of establishing a common business culture and employing a fully integrated IT system are greater than the benefits. This is the effect diseconomies of scale can have on a business and may have been the cause of VW's current problem.
Thank you, Kiara. So very good. So this is the thing, as this question, usually you have to write this kind of essay, right? You can see how much activity they are using the application and everything, like, you know, the CEO statement and the numbers and you can see 30,000 million, like always. That's an answer. What we can take from this answer, the structure. They talk about this assess question. What is the main reason? The answer started with what is the main reason for their problem? What's happened? There are some bad publicity going on about this vehicle carbon emission thing, and after that, their vehicle the demand goes down, and after that they have given the CEO's comment and everything. So with the numbers, you can see they are giving mainly identify the problem and then given the opportunities also how to actually mainly overcome this situation. So that's why always in assess questions, always you have to write the two sides, for and against. So you have to identify the reason. For example, the issue, you have to find out the issue and as well as how to overcome the issues. There are diseconomies of scale. These are the main reason behind this is this happened because of the lack of control and coordination. Just people just manufacture vehicles without any supervision. Because large organization, large volumes of vehicles are producing, and they're given at the end how can they overcome the situation as well. Okay. So today you can see the last topic we are discussing here, the limits of the growth. The limitations of business growth, you can see, comes from different ways. Sometimes you can't grow, like an organization, they wanted to grow but cannot do it because always the economies of scale, you wanted to get the benefit, but the thing is, some organization, they cannot go for the large sector because they always want, sometimes they want to grow big, but they cannot do it because of these following problems. What are the problems here? Lack of finance. Yes, some organizations, especially sole traders, partners, sometimes business organizations, private limited companies also, finance is another problem, main barrier for actually business growth. Some business organization would like to grow fast, but they are unable to raise finance, not able to do it because they need to expand. So growth usually requires investment in the resources, but the problem is such properties and extensions, new machinery, equipment, and other more labor they have to use. Sometimes they don't have enough money. Sometimes they don't like the money lenders. They don't like to. They can't convince. Unable to convince the money lenders, right? So really important. For example, if you go to the like sometimes the people like if you read the book like Rich Dad and Poor Dad, you can find out mainly how people can maybe get rich without using the personal finance, like by only using the debt finance. Some people actually they are actually being rich by investing that money on real estate and all. So you can see these many small businesses, they want to grow, but still the lack of finance is the main problem. So as a result, this problem of small business, as a result of that, the other lenders are seeing this as a very too risky for the lenders to invest on them. That's the first thing. So I think this will be, you can overcome, how to overcome the lack of finance problem by going for debt financing. Try to find another options, crowdfunding, right? Venture capitals, investors are there. Then all you can see if you go to all the biographies, how the business expand like that. For example, if you start the Virgin case study, the Richard Branson's Virgin Group, how he expand like that level. He also used some investors. He also used kind of investment like a venture capitalist and all. He also actually has some business partnership, right? So then later on after that, he actually, when the business was established, he gone with the organic growth. So organic growth, inorganic growth, and going to share the like a PLC, going public. This is the main method to overcome this problem. Another one is the nature of the market. If your market is limited, if you're operating in a niche market, then automatically, definitely, you cannot never, right? Because niche market, there are small quantities, small demand you are going to exploit. So therefore, economies of scale is not there. So some markets are too small. So sustain very large companies, for example, like the luxury yacht, like it's a limited. For example, it's like if you're using like a Rolex watch, very few people can afford it. Like Ferrari, like that. So I don't think Ferraris, Bugatti, Louis Vuitton, and all that, like Lamborghini. So these vehicles, these companies can't exploit economies of scale because the nature of the market is very small, very premium market. So therefore, you cannot produce large quantities like Toyota vehicles, like Nissan or Honda, because the vehicles they produce, if Nissan produced and Toyota produce 1 million vehicles, Ferrari only produce only 200 vehicles per year. It's like that. That's the difference. Always those brands are limited. That's why small quantities, right? Small volume, but high. Okay, this is the thing. Therefore, business in this market will always struggle to grow into very large organizations. Right. Moreover, we can see lack of managerial skills sometimes affecting this situation. If you don't have certain managerial skills, then sometimes the growth is not possible. Sometimes this is a kind of a diseconomies of scale. You cannot hire good managers into the organization. You don't have that professionalism, caliber. As a result of that, what happened, lack of skills required to grow for entrepreneur is missing. So entrepreneur sometimes idea always say stay quiet, like stay small, like a profit satisfying idea. You don't want to grow. He's okay with his profit. He just start as a sole trader and he dies as a sole trader. So he's giving to his business to his son or daughter. So as a result, you don't want to grow. You are happy with what you have, right? This is another thing. Like it's not like a skill. Sometimes it's object. You don't want to grow. He's happy with what he has. Small businessman. It's a lifestyle business sometimes, right? So the skill need to run a grocery store is not exactly the same skill that you require to run a chain of large grocery store. There are 4 different categories are there: business, like a small business and large business. You can see, like some people are there. They pay, for example, small business. Imagine the one who have a small textile shop in the downtown is a small businessman, small grocery person. But that person is different from the Zara fashion brand or Mark and Spencer, because their vision is different, right? A small restaurant owner is a small businessman, right? He wanted to grow, but his mindset is different from the McDonald's. McDonald's vision is different, right? Restaurant chain, but you can see the difference between small business and the large business. Like that, these are the main reasons why business can't grow as a result of that. This will particularly in case of the low owners reluctant to delegate their power and everything, lack of skill. And finally, you can see the lack of motivation. Sometimes lack of motivation to grow bigger. They may be happy running the small business, as I told you. So they have profit satisfying idea. So responsibility, they don't want to take a big responsibilities. As a result, they will be like to run lifestyle business. As a result of that, organization wanted to stay small, remain small. These are the main thing, like barriers to growing, becoming a large organization. Financial support is not there. Sometimes nature of the market is always small, and lack of skills and the business objective, lack of motivation. Okay, so these are the today we to sum up the lesson, we talk about today the external economies of scale coming from the right supportive, the labor, cooperation, ancillary services, infrastructure, these things, and also we talk about the diseconomies of scale also. The diseconomies of scale coming from the bureaucracy. Talk about the labor relations and control and the coordination. And also we talk about 2 case study. Activity number 1, we talk about the Do It Better, the hardware store case study. And also activity number 2, we discuss the VOLKSWAGEN case study with the problem with their company, the diseconomies of scale. We talk about the finally the reasons for the why people can't grow, why people want to stay small. Talk about the lack of finance, nature of the market, and managerial skills. Okay, from that we'll wind up our session. See you again on next day with the another important case study.